Okay, that got dark there, but entitled shoppers, man, they'll do that to you. Not being an asshole, by the way, also means leaving the kids at home if they're going to be disruptive. Now, I know Christmas is more for kids than it is for anybody else, but if they're going to be disruptive and they're going to knock over a display, you telling little Jacob to apologize to the nice man isn't going to do anything for the retail employee other than delay in cleaning up the mess. Speaking of delay, the customer service person tells you that there's nothing in the back without going back there to check, please don't make them go back there and check. First of all, they've got 90 other things on the go. Secondly, they were probably just back there. And third, oh yeah, they work at the store. They know what's in the back. They probably got the truck. They've been stocking this crap so that you can buy it. They know what they're doing. Okay, and another thing, if you're at the checkout and for some reason something doesn't scan and you say, I guess that one's free, you should have to pay double. That should be a rule. That should be a law. It should be enacted right now. Also, don't flirt with the cashier. She's probably in high school, you pervert. I guess unless you want to potentially run for Congress or something. Anyhow, I could go on. The point is, just don't be an asshole, man. And there they are, the rules for Christmas shopping. And let me just say, to anybody who's working retail at this time of year, I'm so sorry. I've been there, and just, you are the best of us, and it's getting there. We're almost through. We're getting closer, anyhow. I mean, we're almost into December, which means it's like less than a month, so that's good, right? I'm sorry. Okay. So that was the rules. Let's move on. Hey, speaking of things that are coming up soon, we are also less than a month away from the latest Star Wars flick. Man, I'm really happy that the two most recent Star Wars films were really, really good. I've been a Star Wars fan like my entire life. My late brother introduced me to the original trilogy when I was very small. And I've always loved it ever since. I mean, obviously there's sort of that sentimental attachment to Clark, but also just I love the story. I love the action. I love just everything about Star Wars. Now, the prequel trilogy was disappointing for a number of different reasons, of course. I think it has its moments, but really I think that the prequel trilogy could have been one movie, and I think everybody would have been a whole lot happier with it because they would have had to cut something, and maybe Jar Jar would have been that thing. But really, the two most recent Star Wars movies, of course, The Force Awakens and Rogue One, I really enjoyed. I understand that some people didn't like Rogue One. I can sort of see why. Rogue One was different from a lot of other Star Wars movies. I'm going to try and not do anything in terms of spoilers here, but Rogue One was more of a war movie than any of the other Star Wars films were, which is funny because, of course, it's called Star Wars. You'd think that it would be more about war than it is, but really it was less. Star Wars is more like the Lord of the Rings, that big epic space fantasy in this case, whereas Rogue One was more like Saving Private Ryan. It was a movie about a squadron. It was a movie about a group of soldiers in a way, and it was a different movie than other Star Wars movies, but I really did enjoy it. And I mean, how can you not like Alan Tudyk as K2SO? It was one of the better characters that they've created. So really excited for The Last Jedi. I gotta say, I've kept myself fairly spoiler free. I don't even like watching the trailers for these movies just because, like, don't get me wrong, they're not as bad as a lot of other trailers are for other movies, but I don't want to be spoiled at all when it comes to Star Wars. Like when I was watching The Force Awakens, a lot of things I was seeing for the absolute first time. And like I said, I have such a visceral sort of emotional attachment to these movies that, like, the first time that that I see the Millennium Falcon in The Force Awakens, I teared up a bit. The first time that Leia and Han locked eyes, I teared up a bit. Like, it was just a really, really great experience. I'm looking forward to this next film as well. I just kind of like that it's sort of a fun holiday tradition now that there's a Star Wars movie to watch every December, and I'm really looking forward to going to see it. Need to catch it as quickly as possible, though, because it's really difficult. I didn't see Rogue One right out the gate. I did see an advanced screening of the Force Awakens, but I didn't see Rogue One until it'd been out for a couple of weeks, and it's hard to avoid spoilers. So hopefully I get to catch it pretty quickly. I probably won't get to see it on opening night because, you know, I'm an old man and I go to bed at early hours now because I have 6 o'clock wake ups every day. So I've become that adult, guys. I'm growing up. It's weird, gross. I don't like it. Don't really care for it. I teased I might talk about this on the bonus episode last week, and I originally was going to maybe sit down and write something about it, but I thought instead I'd just turn on the microphone and talk for a bit about why I love professional wrestling. If you've known me for any length of time, or if you've listened to this show, you know I'm a professional wrestling fan. There's a lot of like dick measuring that goes on between different wrestling fans in terms of what they watch and, you know, how long they've been watching and what moments they remember and all that sort of stuff. I don't really care about that. I've been a fan since grade 2, I guess. That was sort of when it was really at its peak in terms of being super cool, and everybody was wearing an Austin 316 shirt, and DX was all the new hotness and everything else. But you know, I've never grown out of it, I guess, even when the fad sort of died away. And the reason is that I really enjoy the storytelling that professional wrestling can do. I think that it's a way that you can tell a story that's unlike anything else. And, like, you know, there's other shows out there, but that do, you know, things that wrestling does, but not to the same way. You see, professional wrestling is really, if you watch like Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live, it's not so much a wrestling show as it's a show about a wrestling show, if that makes any sense. You know, you get the backstage segments, you get the matches, you get all of this craziness, and it's all sort of leading towards this supposed competition that doesn't really matter. It's more about the stories that happen outside of that matters. I'll give you an example. Recently, and when I say recently, it's getting on 5 years now. There was this guy, Daniel Bryan, not your prototypical professional wrestler. I think he's like all of maybe 5'7", 5'8". He's, you know, less than 230 pounds probably. This little guy, and what ends up happening is that he's really, really fucking good, like in the ring. One of the best to ever do it, and he gets this title opportunity against John Cena. And I think even if you're not a wrestling fan, you must have a vague sense of who John Cena is just based on the memes alone.
And his name is John Cena!
Not even gonna lie, I just wanted to put that in there. That's half of the reason why I mentioned John Cena's name. Anyhow, he gets this title opportunity against John Cena, and in order to give him the chance that he deserves, one of the bosses, Triple H, is gonna be the referee to make sure that nobody screws him, and he ends up winning the title, and it's this amazing moment. And then Triple H turns around and hits him with his finishing move, and allows another guy to come in, Randy Orton, to come in and pin him for the title right then and there. So you get this story, this meta story of, like, you know, backstage, Daniel Bryan isn't really considered to be the type of prototypical WWE superstar, but he's got this amazing groundswell of support from the crowd, and you know, comes to pass that in order to get his real opportunity at the title once again, he's got to face off against Triple H at WrestleMania in order to be then put into the match for the title in the main event of WrestleMania. And against all odds, this little guy who has no earthly right to be there ends up doing it, and it's this amazing moment that happens in New Orleans, and you know, it's just one of those things that, like, as the confetti's going down, you know, that moment sticks in your head, and the emotions just come back every time that you see it. And I don't know, maybe I'm just talking to people who are just not understanding what I mean. I know that the wrestling fans out there get it, but it's this phenomenal story that gets told both on a meta level and in terms of, like, what gets done bell to bell. You know, Will and I sort of talked about it a little bit on the bonus, or on the on last week's episode, not the bonus episode, where you know, just the physicality of a particular match tells a story without any words. Just a story with just the beats of the match itself. I'll give you an example of that. WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair's retirement match against Shawn Michaels. And the story behind it is Ric Flair, if he loses any match in the lead up to this match, he was going to have to be forced to be retired. And this was sort of the match. Once again, it was his career on the line, and he's going up against a much younger man who's at the top of his game. And Ric Flair's this crafty veteran who's the dirtiest player in the game, and he knows all the tricks to get it done. But when it comes right down to it, on a one-on-one fight against somebody who loves and respects him, he just couldn't get the job done. The actual last moment of the match is Rick with his hands up looking to fight, and Shawn Michaels just says, "I'm sorry, I love you," and hits him with super kick for the pinfall. And this is after a match where Ric Flair, you know, did all of his amazing tricks and just, like, you know, tried to cheat to win, and, like, you know, like, that's the other thing, is, like, it's like he's trying to cheat to win, but it's endearing because it's Ric Flair. I don't know. Just the story that gets told in the ring, bell to bell, is amazing. So it's a weird and wonderful world, and I don't expect it to make sense to everybody. I know it's not for everyone, but if you look at wrestling a slightly different way and just approach it with an open mind, don't approach it as just like, oh, it's that dumb fake shit. Just approach it as, this is a story, and I should see what the story is about. Maybe you'll like it. Max Landis. I'm going to link to something from Max Landis. He did a film, sort of a gender swapped retelling of Triple H's career. It's fabulous. It's weird, but it's wonderful. He made this argument, though, that, and I completely agree, when professional wrestling's done right, which it's not always done right, there are many times it's done wrong, and it's, you know, you're climbing through the muck in order to get these little nuggets of gold. But when you do find that nugget of gold, I tell you, when wrestling is done right, and you get those moments, like when Daniel Bryan won the world championship at WrestleMania after overcoming all of the odds, those moments, it's better than The Sopranos. It's better than The West Wing. It's better than any scripted drama on, you know, premium television that you could imagine. So that's why I love professional wrestling. Hopefully, you understand it a little bit better. And hopefully you'll indulge me when I'm ranting about it, which I'm sure will come up again on the show. And you know what? That, I think, is going to do it